Hi everyone, my name is Kelsey Onderdijk and I'm a researcher at IPEM at Ghent University. Today I want to talk to you about my research on social connectedness in virtual environments during the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020 I conducted two studies. The full papers of these are available in a special issue of Frontiers, but today I want to present some highlights of this research. Both studies investigated the relationship between music and social connectedness. Luckily, a lot of researchers have been interested in this relationship before and have paved the way on the topic. Previous studies found that music making, as well as listening to music, can serve a social function by facilitating social bonding, group cohesion, and feelings of togetherness. It has even been found that music can act as a social surrogate. We have seen this during the pandemic as well. So-called balcony concerts and initiatives such as Who's One World Together at Home consisted of expressions of social solidarity and feelings of togetherness. But how social connectedness and music relate to each other in virtual environments is a field that needs further investigation, especially during a time of social distancing, where virtual encounters have been used to try and substitute real-life interactions. To investigate this, a first study examined how people continue to make music with others, be it online or physically together, and the second study focused on facilitating social connectedness through a series of live-streamed concerts. We will first go a little deeper into joint music making. For this study, I worked together with Freya Akar and Edith van Dijk. The study consisted of a survey that was distributed during the first weeks of lockdown. It consisted of general information such as demographics and self-assessments on social and technical competence, as well as questions on joint music making behavior such as frequency of playing and methods used to play with others, before and during the pandemic. In total, 234 valid responses were collected. 95% of responses came from people residing in Belgium or the Netherlands. Restrictions at that time consisted of people only being allowed to leave their houses for essential reasons, like going out for a doctor's appointment or going to a supermarket, and when outdoors, physical contact was not allowed. You could be with max one other person and everyone needed to maintain at least 1.5 meters distance from each other. It seems clear that such regulations would affect how people play music with others. With our study, we wanted to provide a scientific account of how the landscape changed for musicians. One indication made us hypothesize that musicians would turn to online methods of music making. Here, we see a visualization of Google searches of specialized joint music making platforms. That is, platforms specifically designed to make music with others online, from the 1st of February till the 1st of May in 2020. You can see that when lockdown started to be enforced in different countries, internet searches for online alternatives of joint music making started to increase. What we eventually found is the following. We found a decrease of 79% in music making in live social settings, that is, making music while physically together, and an increase of 264% in usage of online real-time methods, that is specialized platforms as I mentioned before, but also online video conferencing tools. And an increase of 93% in alternative remote methods, which basically entails that people recorded parts separately and subsequently circulated these recordings. However, this translates to 21% of all participants making music with others in live settings during the pandemic. 17% using online methods, and actually the largest group of people, that is 55%, was using alternative remote methods. Looking a bit closer, we found that both reasons for playing with others as well as not playing with others during this time were largely related to social aspects. Before the pandemic, the most important reason to play with others, as indicated by our respondents, was simply to have a good time. This was followed by feeling socially connected. During the pandemic, to feel socially connected became the most important reason. Furthermore, we found that 89% of people who experienced an increased urge to play related this to social reasons, and 50% of those who felt a decreased urge to play claimed that the current situation and possibilities lacked human contact and that they missed personal interaction in such settings. Interestingly, people who indicated to miss playing music with others more also ascribed higher importance to social connection in music making and assessed their own social skills higher. Another noteworthy thing is that we found no differences based on demographic categories. So no differences were found between people who were either working full-time or were temporarily unemployed, or people who lived alone versus people living with others, or even those who had children at home, for example. The only thing we found here is that people who were mainly dependent on music as a main income source turned to online music making methods significantly more. When we look at this method of playing, however, we get an account of rather negative experiences. Beforehand, we hypothesized that latency or time delay would raise issues for people, and indeed this was what we found. In fact, most people indicated that they took turns while playing, rather than playing simultaneously because of this. And 44% of those that did not use these methods said they knew beforehand that these methods would not work for them from personal experience or through the experience of others. These findings reveal there is a rather negative stance towards such methods. This seemed to be the case regardless of what instruments people played. It needs to be noted though that the overwhelming majority did not use specialized platforms. This is possibly due to the negative view towards such methods, but could also be due to people not being aware of such platforms, or perhaps because the steep learning curve to operate these specialized platforms with a general need for technical know-how and specific equipment. Next to this, previous research has suggested people primarily want to engage in activities that they expect to be successful in, so it seems beliefs of self-efficacy might have played a role as well. Interestingly though, we found that while there was a significant decrease in experienced social connection through music making during the pandemic, people scored it above average in assessments on online methods, and at the same time, synchronization ability was scored very poorly. And these findings seem to be in contradiction with a large body of research that suggests a tightly linked connection between synchronization and feelings of social connection. It is, however, probably explained by the unprecedented context of social deprivation prompted by the lockdown, during which any means of interaction, be it musical or not, provided some feelings of social connectedness simply because it provided a shared experience. Another aspect we found that people emphasized is that in both online methods as alternative methods, people lacked a sense of being there with others. One participant noted specifically, "It is just not the same as being in a room with people and feeling the vibrations, smelling the sweat, seeing tapping feet. I need people in the room with me." And so, next to resolving latency issues, the future of online music making should probably focus on feelings of presence as well. And this topic brings us to our second study, Livestream concerts. In the second study I am presenting, 3 Livestream concerts were organized that all examined feelings of social connectedness, to the artist performing as well as with the online audience. Each concert had a different manipulation though, and so we looked at the relationship of social connection with agency, presence, and social context. Here, IPEM worked together with Ritmo, and I especially worked closely with Bavo van Kerrebroek and Dana Swarbrick. Beforehand, people could register and indicate which concert they wanted to attend. And through this questionnaire, we also asked some initial demographic information and questions related to concert behavior, for example. The first concert consisted of a pianist performing 5 classical pieces for solo piano. This was broadcasted via a YouTube livestream. Here, we wanted to manipulate feelings of agency, or the subjective feeling of control, and this was done by providing one group of participants the ability to vote for the last song to be played by the artist, while another group could not. The second concert consisted of 3 musicians performing a contemporary experimental improvisation on clarinet, violin and percussion. Here we wanted to manipulate feelings of presence by live streaming through a normal YouTube stream, but additionally a stream with 360-degree view, which allows you to redirect your gaze with your cursor. And this stream was also suitable to be viewed in virtual reality with VR glasses we provided to participants. The third concert consisted of 2 musicians who played 5 pieces that were a mix of Arabic and Western music on violin and accordion. Here, social context was manipulated by providing either a normal YouTube live stream or one via Zoom, where people were asked to keep their cameras on. All concert lasted approximately 30 minutes, including an introduction, explanations, etc. And after each concert, participants were asked to immediately fill out a questionnaire on their experience. All questionnaires asked about feelings of social connectedness directly, as well as through the inclusion of other in the self scale, which you can see here. All of them assessed feelings of presence through the multimodal presence scale. And the second concert, the one with VR, additionally assessed this through the iGroup Presence questionnaire. Then, all of them assessed feelings of self-agency and shared agency by first giving a definition of the terms. And lastly, we asked about changes in emotional state, such as feelings of loneliness and anxieties related to the COVID-19 pandemic, for example. 83 people provided us with complete responses, which gave us a lot of data. And this was analyzed with non-parametric tests, correlation analysis, and hierarchical Bayesian ordinal regression. We do not have time to go into concert-specific findings here, but we will discuss overall results based on the concepts of agency and presence. For this, I will first clarify these concepts a bit more. You will need to know that presence can be divided into 2 types, physical and social presence. Simply put, physical presence is the feeling of being physically present in a virtual environment, and social presence is a feeling of sharing a virtual space with others, as well as feel as if people are aware of you in that space. Then, agency can be divided into 2 categories as well. There is self-agency, which simply put is a subjective and general sense of control over what you are doing or the situation you are in, and shared agency, which is the subjective feeling of control over something that is done with others, a shared task. What we found in our study is the following. In relation to connectedness with the audience, having a high sense of self-agency negatively predicted feeling socially connected. On the other hand, feelings of social as well as physical presence positively predicted feelings of social connectedness with the audience. Additionally, physical presence also predicted feelings of social connectedness with the artist. However, when we put agency and presence in the same model, the effect of agency was reduced. And this is probably because a sense of control in a virtual environment is tightly linked to a sense of feeling physically present. For example, if you can influence your surroundings, like pick up a glass of water, your senses will provide you with feedback that tells you that something was in fact picked up. Having such feedback in virtual environments will let you believe that such a thing is really happening. But to continue, while previous studies have demonstrated the importance of feeling social presence in virtual environments, in our study it seems physical presence may be even more important to contribute to connectedness, to performers as well as between audience members. In our study, we found that using a VR headset effectively manipulated physical presence, so this could be an interesting future direction. What we additionally found is that as age increased, participants reported less social connection with the audience. This might possibly be due to older participants not having a lot of experience with bonding in virtual environments or over social media platforms. It certainly shows that this is an important consideration when examining connectedness in virtual environments. But now let's look a bit closer at the influence of organizing such live streams during a pandemic. We found that social connection felt with the artist could be predicted by the extent that people felt negative emotions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Interestingly, this was not the case for feelings of social connection among audience members. The explanation for this probably lies in research on parasocial interaction. This is a type of unidirectional interaction, like a person watching a performer on television, in which the person watching actually feels as if they are in a reciprocal relationship. Studies have shown that lonely people report more parasocial interaction, which is probably due to this interaction acting as a social surrogate. This notion is further backed up by our findings showing that the frequency of attending live-streamed concerts in real time during the pandemic was correlated with loneliness, lack of companionship, and worries about oneself and others. Interestingly, this was not the case for concerts that were not in real time. And what is especially interesting here is that other research conducted during the pandemic suggested that frequency of virtual social interactions was not related to well-being, and so virtual live-streamed concerts might have a special capability of promoting well-being in its audiences. Forgetting one's worries about COVID-19 was further correlated with experiences of self-agency, physical presence, social presence, and connectedness to the artist. Again, showing the importance of facilitating presence in live stream concerts, but possibly also exemplifying that parasocial interactions with the artist may facilitate reduced worries more than connecting with fellow audience members. On the other hand, social connectedness with the audience was correlated with reduced loneliness, lack of companionship, and anxiety, which suggests that feeling connected to other audience members is also an important component of virtual concert attendance. Then lastly, forgetting worries about COVID-19 after the concert was also correlated with reduced feelings of loneliness after the concert. And additionally, during registration, it was gathered how worried people were about themselves, that is, their own safety and mental health. And we found that this was correlated to forgetting worries about the pandemic after the concert as well. So it could be that people who are more worried benefit more from virtual concert attendance, as it provides them with needed social stimulation and consequently alleviates loneliness and reduces worries. And this brings us to the end of this presentation. I want to conclude by saying that relatedness to others has been suggested as one of 3 basic psychological needs. During the pandemic, this basic need was not being fulfilled for a lot of people. The strong social power music has seems to be a way to provide people with a surrogate for their social needs, be it through making music with others or by watching live-streamed concerts. More research will be needed to improve on the ability to facilitate and foster this in virtual environments. I hope the research presented today has provided initial guidance on some avenues of interest. Thank you for watching.